Hello, I am Kimberly McLemore, and welcome to another episode of 360 and Me, Mimosas and Conversations, where we have conversations on some of our favorite and not so favorite topics. And today we're going to be talking about loving yourself in the new year. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, 2022, right? We're
Oh,
finally here. And you know what? A lot of great changes need to be had with everybody. And this is a conversation that we're just gonna jump right into. But before we jump into, we got Miss Natalie
hey,
Montez. How are you,
doing
darling?
good.
Woo!
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You and I, for those who haven't paid attention to what we've been doing since last year and the years before, just give you guys a real quick briefing on, hey, Natalie and I work together in business as well as we have a great friendship. And then, our goal is to continue to expand that business. I'm going to let Natalie talk a little bit about who she is so that you guys will understand what she does. And then we'll just move right into the good conversation we want to have. Go ahead, Natalie. Give us
Awesome.
some of that information.
I know. I'm so excited to be here. We have actually come a long way together, and I've loved watching you grow. I've loved learning from you, and I've also, come into some new things myself in the last couple years. I moved from Australia to the Chicago area in the last 8 months, and I've been building my virtual assistant business, a health and wellness business. And also just trying to, keep it together and get to know my new community and all that stuff. But I love talking about health and wellness, and I love the conversations that you and I have so many times off the camera that we try so hard to get it captured on camera. And we come
Yeah,
up with
and then
so
we forget, actually. We're like, we should have recorded that. We're like, yeah, too late now.
I know. So I'm so excited that we, take the opportunity to like schedule these calls so that we actually can share with the world the amazing creativity that comes out of our conversations and stuff like that. And, loving ourselves in the new year is something that everybody has been like chomping at the bit, waiting to get out of 2021 and 2022. And there's so much a sense of refreshment, I think, and hope in this new year that things are going to be better for households, for people, and really women in general. Like women specifically, overall, have really, really suffered and struggled. And so, health and wellness for me is like a big way that I want to not only love myself in the new year, but share how others can also love themselves by starting with their own health and wellness journeys.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right. The last couple of years, 2020, 2021, everything has just been kind of crazy. So, we come out of a pandemic in 2020 and we're trying to relive and refocus in 21. And now we're out of 21. Things have changed, but haven't changed that much in reference to where we left out of in 2020. We're still hanging on to a pandemic,
Right.
that's consistent, and it's we're getting more variants, things are constantly moving forward in that. But at the end of the day, we're all realizing and learning that we can't change our to stop living our lives and change. We can change our lives, but we can't stop living, right?
Right.
So we're here now in 22. And you and I, like you said, we have a lot of great conversations, and basically because we are working together in business, so we communicate a lot more than probably most people do. So we always think about the things that we're going through, and it's always great to kind of share and bring that realness to our audience and make them understand that we are extremely human, and that these are the things that we go to, and that we want people to realize that loving yourself it's a broad category, but there's so much more that you can add to it on a personal note.
Right.
So, as you said in your beginning of this conversation, you're talking more about health and wellness, and it actually, we're going to be talking a lot more about, because this is just the first segment of the series that we're going to be doing in Loving Yourself, and we'll dive more into that self-care of health and wellness, and we'll have some buzzwords, but that won't be in this segment today. I think the big focus of loving ourselves today is, what does that mean to us personally? And then what we share personally, how are we going to feed that back to our audience that's listening into our community, right?
Right.
So you know, the journey that we both have is obviously very different and of course in a lot of ways very alike. And alike because we're both women, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both mothers. You know, we both have gone through or are going through a huge amount of things with ourselves personally to continue to better ourselves and then also to continue to support our families with. So when you think about, or when I even think about the fact that loving yourself is the fact that we don't get the opportunity to love ourselves. I don't think sometimes enough. I always feel like I have to struggle to put it in my day to day or my week to week
Yeah.
or my month to month, which in reality is really a shame when when you think about it in that perspective. And even though we've had these conversations over and over, how we shouldn't feel guilty about having those moments that we need to have, we still do.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Because we're human, right?
Yes, and we're juggling a lot. So I feel like one of the ways that I can love myself better is through grace and kindness for myself. Because it's easy for me to have grace and kindness for others. It is so easy. I mean, I understand I don't have to know what's going on, but I can assume that somebody might be having a bad day, or somebody there are people going through stuff that I don't know about, and to give them grace and kindness. But to give grace and kindness to myself is a little harder. And I think we all suffer from that. So I think I've really been trying to work on, for example, over Christmas, I literally shut down my computer and my social media. I didn't even go on there for almost a full 2 days. So I was able to sit on my couch, relax with my children, just watch them play or play with them, play games with them, even read books or just watch a show. And I have not done that in so long because I feel guilty. If I sit on my couch, I look over at my desk and I know I have stuff to do. And so I just,
right.
doing this, or I know I need to be doing that. And I just didn't do it. And I felt so refreshed coming back into work after that, after the Christmas break, that I was like, there is something to be said about working from a place of rest versus the other way around, because you have much more to offer people and give the world when you are rested. And we have to give ourselves that love and grace and kindness to rest, to not be so hard on ourselves when we make mistakes or forget things, and to be encouraging to ourselves, to have those positive affirmations, to look at ourselves in the mirror, in the eyeballs, and say, you got this. You are courageous. You are free. You are, whatever the affirmation is for you in this season of life. And I know that in this new year, that's one of the things that I have really been trying to focus on, is being okay when things don't go right, or when I don't have the dinner that I anticipated having for my kids at night, and I have to end up pulling something out of the freezer and throwing it in the oven. I forgot to pick up the recipe, and now I can't do it.
Right. But I think the key is that we are still that we're like little robots. Everything has to be aligned in order, and it takes years. It took us years to get to this point. Yeah. It may take us some years to get to that point where we do feel comfortable and we do feel like we're not constantly having to be on a schedule, and that if we need to take a break, whether it's during the day or middle of the week or in the month, it's okay to do that. I think for me, I've gotten to the point, and as you know, since we talk so much, that I literally are putting in throughout the year that, hey, I'm taking this month off. We're not doing any recordings. We're not doing any business. And I learned that the hard way, because last year was an opportunity for me to have 2 full months off in a row. And girl, I was in hog heaven. It almost made me not want to come back, because I was like, oh, I don't have to do a recording tonight. Right. It was so refreshing to be able to know that this whole week or those several weeks, I literally had time to focus on me personally. I didn't deal with the professional. I literally made it all about personal. It didn't matter whether I went anywhere or not. If I wanted to be a bum, I could be a bum. Yeah. And, if I wanted to, most people know I'm a Netflix junkie, so I was Netflixing it out a lot. I did take a couple little small weekend trips, but it was that moment in time where, I get to the point, because we're still constantly moving forward in our professional lives as well, not just in our business lives, that, it can be too much. And so that was one time where I finally didn't feel guilty about what I was doing and said, you know what? We're doing that again this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had to sit back and think, because before in the 5 years, going on 6 years that I've been doing this business, I literally was only taking maybe a week or two off during the year, and that was at Christmas time, and found myself so drained by the end of the year that I literally did not want to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, and you've heard me. I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. Shutting this shit down.
Yes, burnout is real. It is real.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
That is one of the things that, with me and my situation as a single mom, I don't have a backup. So there isn't, a break. There isn't, moments where I'm in the house by myself and not having to work and just like having my space, or that I can just go somewhere, and have me
Mhm.
time. And so I have to find very unique ways of doing that. And one of the things I really want to do during this, as the new year gets really underway, is taking a day once a month of my, my work days that, the little one is at daycare, and doing something for myself that is not work. I mean,
Mhm.
it could be just going out to the lake and just sitting there and having some peace and, some quiet time, or it could be going to a winery, or it could be going to get my nails done or my hair done, something like that.
Mhm.
But I really
Mhm.
want to incorporate that, but it has to be scheduled. And that's the thing with us, is that we get so busy in the grind that it's not natural for us to just think of doing that for ourselves. So we have to schedule it. And that's one of the things that some of the podcasts and things that I've been reading, and my own sort of like self-care, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Thing about it is, people are like, you have to schedule it, put it in the calendar, and that is your appointment for the day, or for that half a day, or however long you can get away, because
Right.
otherwise it won't happen. And then
Right.
it'll just build up, So scheduling is another thing for the new year.
Exactly. And you're right. And a big part of it too is that, because we work from home as well, that makes it even harder to sometimes stay on schedule, because you feel like, oh, I got the flexibility. I can maneuver a little bit more. I can do a little bit more. But then you look up, you're literally constantly running all day because you're at home, right? So it's one of those situations of, like you said, being able to schedule time. First we talked about the fact that it's okay to feel guilty, so to speak, if you want to have that time to yourself, and then to be able to schedule it. If you're not scheduling it, we already know we're going to 90% of the time skip it. And that's because we're on that remote control of, got to do this, got to do that, because we're used to that consistently. But then when you sit back and think about it, I always try to realize that once I get to that point where I'm literally beat down because of doing too much, I try to sit back. What did I accomplish?
Right.
Did I get any further than what I was before I started saying, oh, I need to go ahead and schedule this in or not schedule in? I realized I've beaten myself up to the point where I did not get anything done that I really wanted to get done, because I'm doing too much.
Right.
The other thing that we're learning, and we have learned together, is the outsourcing. Being a small business and still trying to run a family, still working, and doing other things to keep that money rolling in, and that food on the table and bills paid. Learning how to accept the fact that it's okay to let go of the things that you can't do. Not that you can't do it, but you just got too much on your plate that is hindering you from moving forward in the things that you want to move forward to. So that's just another piece of the pie when it comes down to understanding about loving yourself. So loving yourself isn't all just about laying around being lazy doing nothing. It's a lot of other pieces, because you have to look at your own puzzle. You have to be able to sit down and realize that life is a puzzle. And so everything that you add into that puzzle is going to determine whether it's a positive or a negative for you, right? And we know what the negative is, because you end up finding yourself just done. You just get to the point where you can't move forward, and then you realize that you've not wasted time, but at the same time you realize things could be done differently. And so loving yourself is just like I said, such a broad category, but it really is something that we can focus on. But I think a good thing too is to sit down and talk about the pros and cons, write
Yeah.
them down,
Yes.
journal what you're feeling that day or at that moment to
Yes.
see that is this really working or not,
Yes.
you know?
That's a huge thing. I think the outsourcing is big, and it's not just, outsourcing in your business, it's outsourcing in your home as well. Like if you have the means, and you say, like for me, if I had the means, it would be cooking. I would outsource cooking so that I could spend more time with my kids before,
Mm-hmm.
leading up to that, homework time, all of those evening time things where they really need your attention. And instead I'm busy in the kitchen chopping, and getting things ready.
Mm-hmm.
Always thought that would be a place where I would outsource. So if there's anywhere in your life at home that you can outsource that will free you up to not feel the pressure of all of the tasks and to be available to your family, then that's also a great way to outsource. And then, trying to get away from the guilt of it, because it's not about being lazy. It's about where is your time best, invested. It's about where
Mm-hmm.
most efficient and get the most done, because instead of being counterproductive, if you're outsourcing where you can, or letting go of some of the things that you can't necessarily juggle, and just being okay with what that means, then you will be, a better person for yourself. You'll have a better outlook on life, and you'll be better for your family and your business, colleagues, and your clients, and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's a huge one. That's a really great point about outsourcing, and then just, being kind to yourself through the process.
Right. And like you said, that obviously, it can get costly depending on your circumstances, but
Yeah.
it's just balancing it all out and realizing that this was what works for you
Yeah.
versus it's, not working for you. And the key is that, once you have that in front of you, you can either walk around it or either work through it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, things that happen in our personal lives, and you have to be able to work through them. But, you have to know when enough is enough for yourself to be able to say, I got to do this differently. I got to be able to, like you said, be kind enough to myself to know that this is just not working. It's killing me, and we're not moving forward. We're that rat on that wheel, right?
Yes.
And we don't want to be that rat on the wheel because it's easy to do. It's
Yeah.
just easy to stay in that function and think that you're actually maneuvering and doing something good and better.
You know why? You know why that is, Kimberly? Because our whole lives as women, we have been sort of taught that if you're not suffering, if you're not, giving all of yourself, pouring all of yourself out, then you're not doing something right. If you're not sacrificing, you're not doing something right. And it does not have to be that way. I've learned this year. Another thing for the new year is just being present. Whether you're in the valley or you're on the mountaintop, be present, because there's a lesson. There's a lesson there that you're going to grow out of and be a better person. And then you're going to keep moving forward versus continuing that rat race like you're talking about. And that what I think of is the car getting stuck in the mud, and the wheel just
Right.
And you're spewing out mud, but you're not going anywhere, and you're burning energy, and you're overwhelmed, and you're exhausted, and you're frustrated, and you just live in those red brain moments, and those high intensity moments that are not peaceful, that are not balanced. Those are the places that we tend to be in collectively as a culture. And if we could find a way to be present, even when, my son is taking time to kick snow, and I'm like pulling him, we gotta go, keep going. Come on, let's go. I'm dragging.
You're like, look, we don't have time for that right now. Can you come on?
Let's go, come on.
But in his mind, it's different. He needed that moment was fun, it's experience. And then, like you said, you're pulling instead of inviting it and jumping into it just for that 2 or 3 minutes, right?
And letting him have that and stop and smell the roses, which we, is the culture that I have to tell myself, Natalie, like this is what you're teaching him if you don't allow him the time to do this, so that I have to be a little bit more cognizant of leaving earlier, or so that he can have the time, because we're walking everywhere basically. Like, he needs to be able to look around and see his world and surroundings, learn. And so that's another thing, like trying to just be present wherever we are, whatever we're doing. Just be
Mm-hmm.
present, because this moment is not coming back. That's the one thing you cannot get back, is time.
Oh, amen. Amen. And how precious it is, right? And then, the other thing is that we all know that, people like to have their new goals and try to reach new things and the new year. And me, I'm all about not caring about resolutions. And I think a big part of that is because we have to change our mindset and have to change a lot of what we're doing and thinking all throughout the year.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be stuck on one thing the whole year, because you're trying to reach that goal and you're killing yourself to reach that goal. You have to be able to sit back and reanalyze and say, is this goal really worth what I'm doing, to myself, in order to feel better about myself or to feel like I've accomplished something. And so I think that a big part of life, like you said, is just taking in some of those moments. Even if it's only 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. And it's funny because I remember interviewing a young lady, and she talked about just taking that 3 to 5 minute session and just sitting there and learning how to breathe, to, enjoying the moment. You need a break, take the break.
Yes.
That 5 minutes didn't change that much more than what you were doing prior. Your life wasn't coming to an end because you took 5 minutes for yourself, and of course it's even harder now that, like I said, most of us are still working at home. Sometimes it's hard to just get up and move, because you almost feel guilty for getting up and moving, like, oh, well, you didn't answer the phone, you weren't. Wait a minute, I have to be able to breathe. I have to be able to still get up and go to the bathroom. And if I want to eat something, I should be able to eat something just like I would in any other position. If I was on site somewhere working, it should be no different. But because the attitude has changed, so now you are still trying to figure out personally how is that affecting you, and how does it affect your work, and how does it affect your business, how does it affect your personal life. And so, like we were saying earlier, if you don't schedule in these times of things that you did to help yourself love yourself better, and using the term loving yourself is not a bad thing. It is what it is. And the definement of it is everybody's going to be different for them. But at the same token, I don't think that anything we're talking about is, out of the ordinary, or, something that's not acceptable.
Right.
Because it's just really truly reanalyzing who you are and understanding what those things are that you may need to do personally. Because I think a big thing too, I want to say real quickly, is that a part of the problem with most people is that when they're trying to build something for themselves, they're too busy trying to build what they see instead of building who they are. Right? It's very easy to sit there and want to emulate a person, try to be exactly what they tell you to be, instead of understanding it's about taking what you have learned and say, you know what, this is cool stuff, but how can I utilize what I'm learning from other people and just build who I am?
Right.
And not emulating.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because taking ideas is great. I mean, the best copycat wins, but you have to bring your authentic self into that, and that's definitely a place that is something that I've been learning recently. I've heard you talk about it. Like, I think you mentioned recently that your smile, or you are what sells, what clients want to be a part. It's not what you have to offer necessarily, because you're not the only one with what you have. Most likely, you're not the only one with what you have. So it's really you that they're buying, because they, either resonate with you, they connect with you, they appreciate you, all of those things. So it really is about authentic self, and doing that in a way that is, fulfilling. So when you were talking about goals, for example, and yes, I have come into this understanding that all these, New Year's resolutions are what causes people to sort of like feel like failures, because it's temporary, it's not permanent. So I've come into an understanding of using the word like a lifestyle change, which is more permanent. You set attainable goals for yourself that are still challenging you, because we still need challenge, but we need to run ourselves ragged trying to reach goals that are unattainable. So by writing those down, like you said, the pros and cons, the highs and lows, and really taking time to meditate, breathe, visualize where your path and allow, God or the universe to really guide you and listen,
Mm-hmm.
you will feel more fulfilled, will be more long lasting, because we want things that are going to be long lasting, not just by February we're
Right,
falling
right,
off.
right. Falling off the edge because we couldn't get into that gym, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same scenario, and so yeah, so because things are like, so you have a little bit more control when you're in your own environment, so you should be able to start to build those things that you want to do and how you want to do it. So, I found that it's amazing. I love the fact that I'm able to have the capability to work from home, to continue my project management work that I do. And the thing I love about it is, like, you know what? I get done with my day. I can shut my door, walk out. I go down my hallway, down my stairs, and my life is starting on. I've literally gained back probably 4 or 5 hours every evening because I don't have to get on the road. I don't have to rush, get on that, wheel to rush home. Oh, I gotta get this done. I gotta get that done before I can do A, B, C, and D, before I can either eat my dinner or whatever the case may be, or just to sit down and relax. So it's like taking the advantage that you have and learning to utilize that time well, so that you're not sitting up there thinking that, oh, I'm home, I still got to do all these million things. Find out what your priorities are, and that's the key.
Yeah.
When we don't know what our priorities are, we really are going to continue to be in that rat race, because that's what we think life is about. Because it's the attitude, well, if you're not busy, you're being lazy, or you're useless. Right. That's BS.
That's
okay
BS. Yeah.
That is BS. You don't have to feel like you have to be on the move 24/7 in order to feel that you're successful, or in order to feel that you've accomplished something. And the world will tell you differently. But I also think that things are changing in a way where people are taking back their lives. I mean,
Yeah.
When I heard last week in the news that we're still at 4.5 million people have actually got up and quit their jobs. 4.5 million.
Wow.
That is a huge, the first time ever in history, people are finally saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore. You're going to pay me what I'm worth. If you don't want to pay me what I'm worth, or if you don't know your value, then hey, I'm going to find something else better to do so I can have a life, but I can also still maintain and get paid for that. People are really changing in their tunes about everything. And as much as we hated the pandemic, you have to be thankful for that moment, because it literally made you stop and think about all the things that you have been dealing with in your life, because you had no choice.
Right.
You couldn't go nowhere. You were stuck like a little,
and that's
stuck
what
in your little room. Right.
For a lot of people, it takes for you to be backed in a corner and made to really take a good hard look at your life, what you've been putting up with. I mean, people literally spending 50, 60 hours a week working, and other people are raising their children. Other people they're having to coordinate and run around like crazy, like you're saying. And it's the people that the world says, oh, you know what? They're working really hard in life. And that is not the truth. That is not the answer, because other people who organize their life in a way that they don't have to feel like that are still getting just as much done, but in less time, because they're not feeling like they have to, portray this, this rat race. I'm so busy mentality, So like you said, it is a mental shift that is happening and has to happen in everyone individually in order to find that niche that is for you. And if you want to get away from all of that corporate craziness, people are going into the gig economy and making their worlds work by building their own online businesses and things like that. Then you go after that and you set your mindset right, you set your goals right, you get your self-care and your kindness and your gentleness towards yourself, and you lead with love, and like life can really change. But it takes a mindset.
Absolutely.
And I will say real quick that one of the things in the new year that I have realized is my own power. My own power as a woman, as an independent person, that God has given me a strength that I didn't even realize I had, because I let the world tell me I can't, and that this is where I belong, and that this is what I need to be doing, and this is what, and this power is amazing. I haven't fully come into it, but I feel it there. And I'm realizing that like, now I'm exploring it, So I'm in that exploration phase of realizing this power that nobody can take from me and nobody can tell me when and where it is useful. So that's
Right.
another for me, in loving myself in the new year, is realizing the power of who I was meant to be and coming into that.
Right. And that's a constant thing that will continue to grow and change. What you're learning today about yourself, or at the beginning of the year, in the year election, whatever it started to come to a fruition for you, the whole purpose of it is that it will continue. You can't stop, because that's not the meaning of growth and loving yourself. So having power over you, as we know, we are our own worst critics. We're always going to sit down and talk about what we don't like, how we see ourselves. And I mean, look, I can tell you, I am the worst of the worst when it comes to criticizing myself and trying to figure out where I'm at and what I'm doing, and not sometimes sitting back and realizing, look at where you're at. Look at what you have truly accomplished. It's okay to say, Kimberly, you've done a hell of a good job. Pat yourself on the back. I don't need nobody else to pat me on the back. But sometimes we have to encourage ourselves, because when we're in the businesses that we're in, we're constantly having to encourage others all the time. And sometimes people forget about the fact that we need that same encouragement. We need that same outreach to realize that what you guys pour into us, we consistently have to pour out to others.
Right.
And we do realize that being in business and the choices that we made, we understand that this comes with the package. But at the same time, we are all still very human. We all still have our moments in time, and we look at ourselves in the mirror. We turn that mirror around and say, hey, when are you going to start taking care of you?
Right.
And so you had that pivotal moment. I've had that pivotal moment, and I'm still going through those pivotal moments, because each year I don't see myself the same as I was the year before.
Yeah. And that's a strength. It's not just a strength to decide to go in business for yourself, because that's brave. That is like an amazing feat. That's an amazing journey, but it's also extraordinarily brave and requires strength to say, you know what? I've done a lot today. I've been productive. I have taken care of this and this and this. I'm proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or those kinds of things. It is brave to even say that, because we feel guilty if we are like patting ourselves on the back or, things like that. But I'm starting to finally actually do what I used to laugh about, no way, stand in the mirror and say, you got this. Look myself in the eye.
Right.
You are free. You are courageous. You're going to be productive today. You are sassy natty.
Oh, I love it. Exactly. And that's the key. I think, today in our conversations we're having, it's just really, like I said, it's a wide open topic, but it can be narrowed down in a way that it's beneficial for the individual. Right. What we do for ourselves and what we do for each other to keep that encouragement and to keep that love going between each other. That's great, because we need that. But it's really up to the individual to decide to say, like I said, look in that mirror. What is your affirmation? If you're an affirmation person, what are your affirmations going to be? How are you going to get yourself through the day or that particular moment that you may be having? What's your journey going to look like? It's truly, truly up to you to decide that journey that you want to be on, that road, that path, because the path is there. It's when we get off of it is when we have turmoil. And we all understand what that means. We all go through turmoil at some points in our lives, and it's just trying to get back into where we want to be and focus on where we need to be. Right. Yeah. So, loving yourself is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, say that again. Mm-hmm.
It's key. It is really key to being able to difficult times and be successful. And being successful doesn't just mean winning, the amount of money you needed to make that week, but it's coming through a situation. That's success. Making it through a situation without, falling on your face or killing yourself is success, And so I think that a lot of people, if they get down to those basics and not what the world says, it's about belief, what you believe in. So believing in what the world says about you or believing in yourself. and believing the truth about who you are and what you have to offer your business, yourself, your children, your family, the world, and staying on that path, even when things aren't like perfect,
Right,
So,
right,
yeah.
right. And I would even say to add on to what you just said, that believing in yourself and just, it's about you first. Because if you're not there, you cannot help anybody else. You cannot be the person you want to be, whether it's for your family, your children, your significant other, whatever the case may be. If you don't have that fully, locked in for you, then you're right back to where you were at square one. Eventually you're going to get there, because you're faking the funk. You're not able to get forward and move forward in the way that you need to move forward, because you still have to address yourself.
Right. And so it won't be like, you have to put your mask on first, and you have to do the work on yourself, because you long lasting and a deep change, not a surface change, because those don't last.
Exactly. And as we know, we are all still masked up everywhere we go. So whatever is underneath that mask is your opportunity to clear it away, right?
Right. That's right. So good. So good.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, you guys. We have had a phenomenal conversation today. Before I wrap it up, though, any last words from you, Miss Natalie, to talk to the listeners and the viewers today about?
I just really wish everyone from my core that, everyone can get deep down to their own roots and really just take a breath and see the world in a new way of hope for this year. Even with the difficulties, there will always be, rivers and valleys and stumbling blocks, but to have a vision, a longer term vision, I wish that for everyone. So that's yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you on that. And, you're right. I mean, we all have to just, like I said, I think the big thing is just trust the journey that you're on. Look yourself in the mirror, find those things that you consider a weakness for yourself, and how you can enhance that weakness, how you can start working on it to improve who you are, so that that you're truly loving yourself in the way that you need to be. Like you said earlier, it's all about being kind to yourself. Stop making excuses that it's not okay to be kind. It is perfectly okay to be kind to yourself and to move forward in life the way that you want to. If you're constantly feeling like you're stuck, hey, we're here. Y'all reach out to us. We got you. We struggle too. We're human, but at the same time, we know where we're focusing and we know what we're trying to get to. But I just want to say too, real quickly, thank you as always, hanging out with me, girl. We love to chit chat, right?
Absolutely. And cheers to you.
Yes. Look, I don't have a wine glass, but I'm gonna put my got my juice today.
Yes, I'm so thankful to you and the forum that you provide for all of your listeners and community. It is phenomenal, and I have learned so much from you over the years. So I always appreciate coming on and getting a chance to chat with you.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you wanting to sit down and hang out with me. And I'm going to tell all you viewers and all of our listeners that this is just the first topic of this series about loving yourself. So you'll be seeing us coming back soon. And the next topic we're going to be touching on is living moment by moment. And then the next one, of course, I talked a little bit about earlier about is that self-care, those 2022 buzzwords. And what does that really mean of self-care? So just be patient. Hang in there. We'll be back in a few weeks with that next segment. And again, if you want to learn anything about 360andMe, hey, subscribe. Get on the Women's Small Business Initiative YouTube channel and just learn. There's plenty of things out there for everybody. But again, I hope you really all enjoyed this segment of 360andMe, Mimosas and Conversations. We'll see you all soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.